Yo, yo, yo. It was a hot night. Backyard, pretty girls in the moonlight. Sitting around the fireside singing songs and getting along. We had nerds and jocks, preps and goths. It was a melting pot.
And we're live.
So, welcome to the podcast, Hank.
Hi, Hank.
Thanks for having me.
We've been doing this for... This will be our 21st podcast.
Bro.
Oh, shit.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Is there something we can
Lucky
do for
21.
a 21st of a podcast?
Alcohol.
Okay.
Booze.
In celebration of 21.
Hank, welcome to this special celebration.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
So, what's up? We were going to do a special podcast where we all played this machine and made beats, but technical difficulties, so we're just going to talk about shit.
Technical frustration.
It happens.
That's fine.
We need people in this world to help us with stuff like that.
Yeah. It does. Yeah, it does employ people who know this.
Yeah. Just a task force, you know? And just like helpers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone we could just call at least.
Yeah.
And they could just tell you the big square one on the right. Like, you know.
Yeah, you plug it
Yeah,
in
you plug-
there, and
Yeah.
then you plug it in her.
Or they just take over your computer and do it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. that'd
I
be
mean,
perfect.
there are these people. They're called customer service for Native Instruments, but I don't know them. I don't,
Where are they at, though?
I don't have their number.
Do they accept late night calls?
That would be amazing customer service.
That's
Hotline?
like when
Yeah.
I'm creating is like late at night, so it would make sense, you know?
Yeah, honestly, I think one of the pinnacles of great service is that you can help someone in the middle of the night, no matter what kind of service you are.
That's why most of the call service centers are people from India. It's because it's daytime there right now.
Oh, man. Okay.
And they know that we're up late trying to make music,
Yeah.
and they're our only hope.
They're also the ones who are great with technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
They know their
true.
shit.
That sector in that country is going up in tech. Yeah, it is.
That's pretty racist.
They are very superior there.
No, it's
I
not.
saw that in my
It's not
geography.
racist if it's a
No,
compliment.
yeah,
right?
in my
No.
geography class, I learned that. It's true.
No, yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, it's really good.
They're like launching rockets into space and stuff, right?
It's good for all countries to start reaching up to the stars, because if the planet does like go bad, we're gonna
Go bad.
the next
It
the
gets
people
moldy.
our descendants are gonna need some sort of plan B, because we might bear the fruits of being able to continue living here somewhat, but there's gonna be a generation that's gonna deal heavily with climate refugees, you know.
Dude, asteroids scare the living shit out of me more than anything else, because there's no preparation. Like, even if NASA saw it coming from like hundreds of thousands of light years away, there's still not shit we can do to stop an asteroid like the size of Texas from just completely obliterating the entire planet. All life that's ever existed just gone in the blink of an eye.
You don't think Elon would try to blow it in half?
He'd try, but look what they've tried that in Deep Impact.
That'd be amazing,
and
though.
fucking,
Yeah, but those were all fictional. This would be reality.
And that's just assuming it's only the size of Texas. What if it's way bigger than that? Like, it could be half the size of the planet,
Yeah.
and there's nothing we could do. No nuclear
I'm
bomb.
hoping that anarchy wouldn't get too crazy if if obliteration was inevitable. Yeah.
Why would it matter, though?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It really wouldn't
Would
matter.
you rather know or not know?
I would rather... Actually, that's a good question.
Like,
I don't know.
if it's like a year in advance, they're like, we got a year until this thing's
Right.
fucking smashing
I
us.
think I would want to know.
Or would it be like the one like that I learned about on the news last week, where it's like there's one like about to hit us or miss us or something, or on election day I was reading something how one
there's
was gonna-
always one about
Yeah.
to miss us.
Yeah, that's what I'm
just barely.
saying. Yeah.
That's what I mean, though. It's scary as shit. Like, we just have gotten so incredibly lucky in these last,
Yeah, Earth has been stable for a long time.
these last couple million years, we've been doing all right. But all it takes is one, and they move so fast. Like, they've been just picking up speed and flying through space, bouncing off of shit, heading this way for eternity. But anyways, coming back to your point, like that is, if nothing else, that's the reason it's important for us as a species
to be able to travel,
to be able to go to other planets and start populating.
Yeah.
Because then Earth can just be a backup, and if it gets obliterated, at least there's still humans out there and life out there.
Luckily for Europe, back in the day, like 500 years ago, they were able to navigate the sea to get to the New World. Now, given their
to colonize and fucking
destroy
everything.
Later they colonized, but that's beside the fact of navigating the water. We want to know how to navigate space, right? Like, we want it to not be so dangerous. You know, we want to make it so that, like, we can start planning things around. Like, for example, that Skyhook video that we saw.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
That's going to be insane. Like, you know, when people decide to, like, go through with that and you start mining asteroids and you're like, there's an abundance of gold, silver, a ton of, like, expensive minerals on asteroids that you're able to bring back down to Earth. And so now there's, like resources that you're bringing from the sky.
Billion dollar industries.
Exactly. And so you're going to want the cheapest mode of travel. And in this case, like, there's industry up there. We're going to want to learn how to navigate space.
And that's why I hate when people say, like, we're going to lose our jobs because of this and this and, like, all these lower level jobs. But it's like, or we're just going to evolve and create new jobs for ourselves, you know? And those are going to be those types of jobs, and different types of jobs of helping the planet and, like, recovering everybody together, you know,
like green jobs and stuff. Yeah, I agree. Like, we have bigger priorities. We have more important things to worry about, where it's like, we can't worry about keeping petroleum powered vehicles. We need to, like, look forward. We're really detrimental to the planet the way we behave.
And, like, kind of like how Andrew Yang's always talking about, like, jobs are going to go away. Mm-hmm. Jobs in general are going to start to go away as more and more automation becomes a thing. Like, when more and more robots can do the jobs that we don't want to do, there are going to just be less jobs, which doesn't have to be a bad thing if people still have a way to eat and have a house and have medical bills paid and all that stuff. So as a society, we've got to find a way to make sure, as these jobs disappear that aren't going to come back because they're just being done by machines instead, that we're all able to pursue happiness and have, you know, pursue art forms and travel and eat and pay our medical bills. And to do that, we need something like some sort of a UBI at some point. Yeah,
you know, it's shocking too when you think about the amount of jobs robots have already had even before you were born. Everything that's a factory where you're manufacturing a ton of little textiles and you have the machines doing this, like, repetitive work. That used to be fucking human work. Mm-hmm. A long time ago. It used to provide thousands of jobs.
Yeah. And
so now it's surprising how many jobs a robot had already taken by the time we were born in the 90s.
Yeah, just in the 50s and 60s, like, it was already starting to just obliterate
and now,
all the factory jobs.
Yeah, and now it's taking over jobs where you thought only a human could do. Driving a freaking vehicle. A freaking huge vehicle around, or checking you out at the store, something that's one of the most human jobs ever, a cashier. Mm-hmm. Entry-level jobs are being taken.
Jobs like yours and mine, I feel like
they're going to take a while because they're not repetitive.
Time.
They're not repetitive things.
It'll take, like, a legit, like, super cyborg, AI. Like an actual robot person type being that can actually go and do the complex intricacies of property management or hotel management or stuff like that.
Or at least taking care of problems that are just random.
Yeah.
Robots don't put up with no bullshit, or what?
Exactly.
Wouldn't it be nice if there was just a CEO? The CEO of every company was just a robot.
Yeah, and he's like,
he could solve everyone's problems.
Talk to the robot.
He's like,
I'm sorry, you gotta go talk to him. I can hear your
concern, but I just can't come to terms with feeling.
And he's sitting there counting stacks of money.
Oh God,
this fucking selfish asshole robot.
That's insane. But it'd be kind of a weird world if you had a robot manager managing robots. That's some insane AI, and they might as well be their own people too, because, like, Ex Machina kind of type situation, where it's like their self-awareness is so good. It's like, so are they a person you need to respect because they're aware of themselves?
They believe it, so,
you know, exactly.
I don't know. we haven't really dove too deep into AI on this podcast.
That's true, man.
I'm surprised because we argue about it a lot.
Yeah, that's true. It's a fun topic too.
But for me, it's like, first of all, if we get AI to a point where it kind of it can pass the Turing test, where it's like it basically it feels, it thinks, it has emotions, it can actually process and feel things.
Right.
In the same way, our brain is just electrons firing.
Yeah, but we're aware of ourselves.
It's just electrical impulses firing through a meat machine, basically. At what point are those wires and circuits and stuff any less like sentient than whatever the hell we are?
Here, I'm gonna throw in sort of a wrench in the conversation, though. Let's see how badly it
Clogs
interrupts.
up the gears.
Yes. I heard, I forgot who it was. I think it was a biologist. But they were talking about the fact that when you talk about AI, the assumption is it's a robot, right? And a robot doesn't necessarily have death, depending on the technology. And so one of the things that guides our biology is the fact that something could kill us, whether it's time eventually, or sickness, or an animal, or another person. And that affects the way we think and behave around other people. But if you were a robot, like if you were Spider-Man secretly and no one knows that you're Spider-Man, so you know very little can hurt you, you're almost invulnerable, how would you feel walking around people? You'd be like 100% more confident in your own head. So like, can we make a machine come down to our level? Sort of like, you know how Superman is supposed to be trying to copy humans because he knows they're weak and it's kind of the way he perceives them? Mm-hmm. That you can get a robot to feel like that because it knows it's going to be pretty invulnerable to things, especially sickness. You know?
What is he doing?
He's trying to get in on this podcast.
You know what I'm saying? So for an AI to be an AI, would you eventually have to give it an expiration? And for it to realize it's going to expire? For it to be a real natural AI, a human one? Because we're always saying a human AI, right? Because we have this motivation of survival.
It wouldn't be human. All I'm arguing is that it would be sentient.
Yeah,
I don't think death is a necessary component of sentience. Sentience is...
I suppose so, but...
You exist and you're aware of your own existence. You can feel emotions, feel
I guess. I mean,
pain.
if you then it means if you can get down to copying at least the bacteria, then I think you're down to sentience then. Bacteria...
I feel
bacteria
like
isn't sentient.
the only way to go about this is...
themselves from others, so they know
they're not aware of themselves.
Yes, they are.
They are?
They know not to eat themselves.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I learned that in Carl Sagan book. Actually, it was an interview with Andrew, and she said our oldest ancestors would be bacteria, where it started, where they said, "I won't eat myself, but I will eat you," where I and thou begins. And you are separate. So. You are separate from your surroundings. That's sentience.
They're not. They're responding to stimuli, though. They're not thinking that. They don't have brains.
Yeah, but they're
still not thinking anything.
Yeah, I suppose. But I guess would sentience be strictly you need a brain then, an actual brain?
You need to be able to feel and.
Well, then they're responding to their outside. Then they can feel.
But a breathalyzer responds to stimuli. That doesn't mean it's sentient.
Yeah, but that's already designed. But that's already designed. Specifically to detect
it doesn't matter if it evolves naturally or is designed. A leaf of grass is not sentient, but it responds to stimuli.
Well, is it a tree not alive?
It's alive, but it's not sentient. It doesn't know it's alive. It doesn't think anything. It doesn't know anything. It doesn't have a brain.
Oh, okay. So it needs a brain.
It needs at least nerve endings.
How would you define sentience then?
The ability to feel.
Feel what?
To feel and know that you're feeling something.
To have a conscious.
Feel sensations and how to be conscious. Consciousness.
Yeah, but
the tree is not conscious.
So but where does consciousness arise then? Only in a brain?
I think it's only in a brain.
So it's only a brain.
So like being vegan, for instance.
Maybe some dolphin brain.
So like an amoeba,
a gray area for me where when people bring it up that I never have a response to is like, what about certain types of mollusks or like a jellyfish?
An amoeba.
They don't have a brain.
An amoeba.
But they still like respond to stimuli. An amoeba is not sentient. It doesn't have a brain. It doesn't have a central nervous system.
What if it has like different ways of communicating and information? You know what I mean?
Wait, but then
but like plants.
But then a developing fetus, then where are you talking about sentience then?
Is the fetus conscious? Does it know it's alive and
if it has a central nervous system, I don't know.
If it's conscious,
like I think
it can feel pain.
I think
it can feel pleasure.
You would have to formally define then sentience.
It is formally defined.
Well, what's the definition?
Let's see. Define sentience.
I want Siri to say it out loud.
Okay. It's analogous to consciousness. Sentience is the capacity to feel, perceive, or experience subjectively. So it's the
experience subjectively.
Subjective
so you're
experience.
you're internally going, oh, so this is happening.
Ability to think and reason.
Right.
From the ability to feel, which is sentience. So the ability to think is reason. The ability to feel is sentience.
So this would be a non-binary thing without a spirit, but it would be sentient, as well as us, where we have a spirit and we are sentient.
You lost me at spirit.
For me, spirit would be the same as sentience.
Like
whatever is making you aware
consciousness.
of consciousness.
Yeah.
I guess if we're using spirit in those terms, like sentience, consciousness, spirit, they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could argue that like when you chop down a tree, it's not sad that you're chopping it down. It doesn't feel pain. It doesn't feel anything.
Wait, so then how do you know that a human isn't just responding to external stimuli whenever they make decisions?
Because it is like something to be you as a human. You're experiencing the universe subjectively. Like your spirit, your consciousness, your sentience. Those are things that like a rock doesn't have, a tree doesn't have, an amoeba doesn't have.
No, right. But I was like comparing the way we respond to the external world in the way that like an amoeba or a bacteria. In the way that an amoeba or a bacteria.
So fight or flight.
So not fight or flight. That we don't know what choices we're making based on just the outside thing that we looked at and decided, okay, so then I guess I got to do this.
Our cells respond to stimuli.
Yeah.
Our cells individually respond to stimuli.
Right.
But us as a whole, our brain, where we have consciousness arising from,
right,
is where our sentience exists.
And that's where we can fast from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't remember how we got on this topic.
Oh, robots.
So
at what point? Yeah.
At what point are they different from a tree or a computer that is just responding to stimuli and instead is feeling things and experiencing the universe?
Do you think we'll just have our own personal AI, like our own personal one that is uniquely for us, that experiences it through or for us? Like, because we're gonna have to either
like an avatar,
we're gonna have to merge with it or use it to our advantage and like collaborate with it, or it's gonna destroy us. I mean, we could use it like we have been, where we invest all of our money into it for military and destroying. I mean, the highest technology we have right now is in the military.
Right. That's where, but I think, that's where all our money is going. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's always going to create the best technology wherever the most
wherever the interest, wherever
exactly.
they want. Yeah,
and so the focus needs to shift into figuring out how to use it for our advantage.
That's why I like the things that Elon Musk is doing. Like, say what you will about him and, you know, whatever he stands for, but the fact that he's using it for things like going to Mars or creating self-driving cars, it seems to be like
people can
things that
believe in
aren't
that.
geared toward war and destruction.
It's just for the sake of its own exploration.
For once, which is refreshing. But you're right. Like, I don't know though. I think it's an interesting thought because my point is, if it ever got to the point where like it was, if we were able to recreate a brain and it's able to do everything a brain can do, but it's just wires and circuits, is it not sentient? You know, if our brains are what give us sentience, if we were able to completely recreate it in like mechanical form, would it not be exactly the same, doing exactly the same thing?
Well, okay. Do you think it's sentience is tied in with having emotions?
I think that, I guess, because you can feel emotions.
Okay.
If you can feel emotions, that's sentience.
Do you think needing emotions only comes because you have an external environment that you're vulnerable to?
That's probably what helped it arise in organic living, but not a tree.
So what would a robot be vulnerable to that it's going to feel emotions because of it?
No. So robots
to have sentience.
We got this because we evolved naturally to be at this point. A robot wouldn't have evolved naturally to get to that point. We would have duplicated what we are, what we've evolved to be. So a byproduct of our needing to respond to stimuli, they've now become a duplicate of what we are.
Well, because like AI is something I see as inevitable for humans, seeing as everything we do is a reproduction of the natural world. We're cartoons. It's our talking animals and stuff. Everything we do is always just this reproduction of what humans do. And so AI is a classic example of that. We're just trying to reproduce a human brain now, human thought and human consciousness. But if consciousness and sentience depends on, for example, having a limited biological, like vulnerable life, then again, that's what I'm saying. It could be all circuits and stuff. But sentience, how important is being vulnerable to your external environment? Is it to being actually sentient? Actually, you might just be an emotionless robot if you don't have any origin for your emotions.
Do you mean that like from an evolutionary standpoint or from just a purely biological standpoint?
No. Like, for example, real sentience, the way, I mean, you're saying, would you say that human sentience is a good base example of sentience?
Like me personally, am I only sentient because I'm vulnerable to things? No. That's what I'm saying. It would be a personal thing. It's not a complete lineage of evolution to get us to here.
Right. You're meaning just being like awake and aware of your external world.
If you were able to duplicate all the cells in my body, everything that I am, but duplicate it in silicone.
If all you have to do is be aware of your natural world and be able to respond to it, then it seems like we're pretty close
to be able to feel and know that you're feeling.
Yeah. Well, then again, what about the feeling where, though? An emotion feeling?
So there are going to be protests for robot rights.
Exactly.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
There could be at some point, if robots become so indistinguishable from humans in the way that they feel and experience the world, they would have to have rights.
Yeah.
Of course.
And they would want them, and they would fight for them.
They would probably be protesting for them, and they'd be stronger than we are in a lot of ways, so they would get them.
It would be interesting to see if humans would want it more, or if robots would want it more.
Because if a robot was aware enough to know it was more strong than a human and it could exterminate it,
it probably would.
Then but I don't know if that's really, I don't know.
Worst case scenario.
Because whenever I think of sentience, I mean, if for me, it's a kind of a gray area definition depending on what you want to include into either like for example, does sentience require eyes?
No, that's just one sense. So sentience requires senses.
Yeah, so at least one.
Yeah.
In which case, senses in nature, are we only going by the 5 senses that humans define, or
Senses
any
are a
sort
product,
of sense in nature?
Senses are a product of a nervous system. So you have to be able to feel to have senses, right? Because they're all feeling.
Well, I don't know because there's things that respond to nature without a nervous system, and they respond to the external world.
They're responding to stimuli in the way that a breathalyzer does. They're not
Oh, I don't
sensing
know.
it.
Are you saying that a breathalyzer is as complicated as like a leaf?
I didn't say anything about how complicated they
Well,
are.
then I can't say it's doing it like a leaf.
It's not doing it in the same way that a leaf does, but all it's doing is responding to stimuli.
I don't know if you can make the leaf, though, that easily defined, like the way it works.
That's
way it
what's
works.
happening. It's responding to stimuli. There's no thinking. There's no experiencing. It's not like something to be a leaf.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say a tree responds to nature more than a breathalyzer responds to nature.
They're both just responding to stimuli in different ways.
I don't know what
feeling
I mean.
it,
What
though.
else?
They're
I
not
mean,
feeling anything.
I don't know. I mean, feeling is because are you meaning like pain, the way you would feel like a pinch on your skin? Do we know that
the
a
way
tree?
the way that you would know that you're feeling a pain.
Does a tree
That's what
respond?
sentience is.
Does the tree respond when it starts getting chopped down? Not because it hurts, but just because it's supposed to respond when it's getting chopped down?
Yes. It's just a genetic information telling it to
Right.
respond that way.
But
Not-
arguably more complicated than a breathalyzer.
Sure.
Right. Because I wouldn't
More
simplify
complicated.
I wouldn't simplify it like a breathalyzer, because then that means that a tree is just something simple. And it's not.
No.
It's really complicated.
No, and it's definitely more complex than a breathalyzer.
Yeah.
Because it's life. It is
Right.
alive.
So not
but it's
like
not
a breathalyzer.
sentience. It's still just responding to stimuli.
Yeah.
though.
But it's like you're kind of saying a tree doesn't know it's on Earth. It's on the
Right.
ground.
Right. It doesn't know
Right.
that it is. Because it doesn't have a brain or a central nervous system.
But you don't
Right.
think it can feel anything.
Feeling is a byproduct of nerves,
Gotcha.
of a nervous system.
Well, that's our definition too. It's just a nervous
Right.
system, though. We don't know what else a nervous system can possibly be or be defined as.
No, we know what a nervous system
Like
is.
no, well, in animals in the animal kingdom, but you still see like plants that look like they don't like something, and they recoil.
That's a
Yeah.
response to stimuli. There's no reason to think
Recoiling
they can
to
feel.
something they know is like bad for them.
The way I've also thought about it is creatures that have the ability to move away, that don't have roots dug into the ground, tend to have sentience. Living things that have the ability to move tend to have sentience because they can feel pain.
Right.
If trees could feel pain, they wouldn't have roots. They would have legs to
Right,
run
right,
away
right.
from the pain.
Right. Yeah, I just
What if their decision is just to bear down and deal with the pain? You know, like root.
Yeah,
fucking
I would
down
say.
But where are you
I-
getting that word decision from if there's no brain rationalizing making a decision?
I would
That's a
just say.
byproduct
I would
of
just
a
say
brain.
that a plant can be in something that a human can't really define as a plant in discomfort. But I don't think it's like feeling like how we feel like heat and stuff. But it's kind of crazy to think that a feeling is kind of a crazy word to use with a plant.
Because that would require sentience.
Yeah, because you would require a nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
not sentience. Does a nervous system need eyes to feel pain? I don't think so.
No, I think a central nervous system is the key to sentience.
Right, but it
because
doesn't
you
need.
can't feel without a nervous system.
Yeah, but you can. Can you have creatures with a nervous system where they don't have
A brain, yes.
No, not a brain, or eyes.
Yeah.
Nose, and no brain.
Like
and would they be
certain
sentient?
mollusks, for instance, they have the beginnings of nerve ganglia that have evolved so far in these species of like clams and stuff. There's no brain, there's no real nervous system, but there's nerve ganglia similar to what makes up our nervous system. So it's like maybe they can sort of feel in a weird way, but that's what I mean by a gray area, as far as like when people are like, when I'm like, well, you know, animals deserve to, live a life and not be killed when they don't want to, people are always like, well, what about clams? Like, they don't really have a brain and they have just no way of feeling. And I'm like, fine. Like, if you want to eat clams, that won't bother me if that's where you're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but that's not what you're arguing. You want to eat cows who can feel. So it's like, that's what I'm saying, though. I agree. That's a gray area. Like, if they don't have a brain, they don't really have a nervous system, but they're still an animal, I think it could be argued that they're not sentient. So they don't deserve...
So sentience would be... Yeah, that's weird.
They can't feel.
Sentience would be your feeling the outside world and having an opinion about it almost.
Like experiencing and being. Like a plant is not a being. Because the word, like, that's what the word being means. It's like it's like something to be you. You're being rather than just existing.
So there's sentient beings, which there is almost a broad group of, there's different beings that are sentient, correct?
Anything that can feel is a being. Because they can, like, they know that they are being. Like, they're conscious of the fact that
So do you think
exist.
humans are at the top of that sentient being right now?
I think we're very sentient. I think it's complicated.
Do you think it's more sentient than a chimp? Or the same?
I guess, I don't know. We're sentient in different ways. Because sentience implies senses, right? There's animals that have senses that we could never even imagine, that are way more complex than what we can do, like sonar and shit. So I think sentience is subjective. It's like, it's not a ladder, it's more like a tree. So like anything that is conscious is sentient, but there's not like a goal of like you're the most sentient. It's like there could be goals like you're the best at seeing. So in the sight category, hawks probably have the most sentience. But in like the emotions category, humans probably have the most sentience.
Humans have the most at fucking shit up.
Yeah.
And just multiplying.
So yeah, I think it all comes down to individual senses, whatever. Then you can rank things as how sentient they are. But I wouldn't say like humans are more sentient than any other creature. We're just more aware of everything than any other.
So are we going to be do you think there will be other creatures then that will pass us on that will become more conscious beings than
it depends.
Humans?
Like right now, one of the big advantages, one of the things humans do is we look really far into the future and into the past too.
Whereas other beings do that.
and we don't look into the past just for experiences. Sometimes we reach into the past for like a bad memory and just fucking sit in it. And sometimes you're reaching into the future because you're gonna yelled at, you didn't do this, didn't do that, like you're about to face a consequence. That's a lot of stress. And only humans like do that to themselves.
And that's why like I think it is categorically like if there was a house on fire, like this is a question I'm presented with a lot of times when I'm talking to people about veganism. If there was a house on fire and there's a cat inside and a baby inside, I'm going to save the baby 100% of the time. Like a lot of people will be like, well, if we're all just sentient, why does it matter which life you save, But it's because, like you were saying, that baby's family, it's not just the pain that individual being is going to feel from the fire as they're dying. It's the pain from that baby's family and their kids and their kids' kids that are going to sit and talk about how fucked up that was, that this baby died and it was their one baby that they finally got to have or whatever it was. So humans have like the ability to think so deeply into the past and future that our sentience is absolutely more important in a lot of ways, for sure. So I will agree to that.
I would say can be useful. I don't know about important.
I feel like we are the first beings to be like this aware and this conscious, but I don't think we're gonna be the last, and I don't even know like if we're going to be even relevant to some of these other beings or things that we end up finding throughout the galaxy and even on our own planet.
Well, here's two thoughts on that. one, there could definitely be beings out there that are vastly more complex and more conscious than we are
already.
And two, let's say a meteor comes and wipes out most life on the planet, and it gets, it goes back to just basic bacteria and stuff being alive, and then over hundreds of millions or billions of years, new types of life evolve. Maybe some species of lizard or crocodile or whatever ends up becoming sentient, and I mean not sentient, but ends up becoming self-aware and like intelligent to our level. Totally could happen. There's no reason why not. As long as their brain gets big enough, it forms in the same way. But then again, I mean, what are we categorizing as whatever we are as being the best? Like I said, dolphins are arguably as intelligent as us. They just live in a different environment. They evolved in a very different place.
I don't know. That depends on your definition of intelligence.
So
I don't think a dolphin, because it doesn't need it, won't like learn algebra.
It can do some cool shit, but like
it can understand its environment very well, and I think you would have to.
It's not shooting like rocket dolphins.
So you would have to
air.
You would have to say how smart is the dolphin in its own environment compared to how intelligent we are in our own.
I think it's I mean, think about what it's like to be a
dolphin.
That's more fair.
Any other animal compared to us does better in that category, pretty much.
In its own
environment.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely are detrimental to it, but I mean, if you put any other animal in this house, it's going to ruin it.
True. If
so
there's
we
this
do
many
well in our environment.
We're definitely very different, very, very different from all other animals. We're very incredible.
But you think it would take a catastrophic
delicate
event for another animal to evolve? You don't think there could be multiple
chimps would be next.
animals?
Chimps would be next.
Very close.
Yeah, chimps would be next, because you need tool use, because look at us. We're surrounded by things we use as tools. No other animal really surrounds itself like this, and is as dependent on tools and dependent on a ceiling over your head. We're really delicate. We had to make everything work for us. We're fucking really vulnerable in brain and in body. So we have computers like this doing mental work and this doing the physical stuff.
I think we talked about that in one of our first podcasts.
I think we
were trying to say what makes humans
different
categorically.
And
I think it's the use of tools to the extent that we use them.
To the extent we use them, because a chimp would be the next one to say, I can use another tool in my environment, seeing as they have hands and fingers and stuff. A dolphin can't really grab things. It can pick it up with its mouth. So to whatever extent that you could use a tool with your mouth is however far a dolphin will go, but better in the water. But like I said, we can do insane, incredible things. Incredible.
Do you I wonder if the way that our brains came about, and you could say this for chimpanzees too, did it strictly have to do with the pressures from the environment causing it to become better at using tools, better at group dynamics, social skills?
So let's use our whenever you think of a Paleolithical human, what is the one tool you imagine in its hand normally?
A spear,
possibly maybe just a rock or something, a sharp rock. So whenever I think of a chimp, and for example, one of the really impressive tools chimps use are reeds to termite fish, and they know they're fucking professionals at using them. And they're professionals at finding out the holes that termites cover up in the mounds at the end of the day. They scratch them open, and then they just dip in a reed, and they pull it out
precise.
Yeah, and they just whip it across their lips. Now, they came up with that tool because of a necessity for protein in the jungle, which is hard to come by sometimes, especially in the rainy season, where they're always holed up and they're not migrating from mound to mound, where baboons have to eat them when they migrate from mound to mound. Chimps can continue to eat them when they're in their mounds. Baboons, they can't. In an experiment, they saw that baboons, they came up to all the reeds that the chimps had finished eating termites. They left all the reeds on the ground, and the baboons they weren't even curious about picking them up or doing anything with them.
They had no idea what it was.
They didn't even do monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
They just didn't have
there's
that.
There's orangutans
that
just spearfish now.
See,
what?
And that's what I'm saying.
I want to see that.
They saw a guy doing it.
There you go. Yeah.
And they were like,
do they have a picture of that?
There's a video.
I want to fucking see that.
He's hanging off the side of a bank from a tree, and he made himself a spear, sharpened it, and then
Oh, shit.
he was sitting there just like poking at the fish, like
Yeah.
trying to stab him.
No, see, that's the reason I say chimps,
Incredible.
because when you look at us, we came from hunter and gatherer, and all of our necessities started out from needing like nutrition or survival. And then when we start getting to this comfortable part with agriculture, where we had more time, even before agriculture, we were painting on walls and had time to do art. But like, look, even chimps have been seen like doing beats on tree trunks and rocks. If one decided that it sounded cool to hit a stick on this piece of whatever they found in the jungle, why wouldn't they all of a sudden you find a troop of monkeys that are
musical That'd be
with
fucking
instruments? And that's exactly like us, like that. So if anyone was gonna take over, like it's any of one of the great primates next, especially because opposable thumbs and necessity.
Because it could be argued, monkey see, monkey do could be argued for everything that we do.
I think so too.
Because our brains are the same exact brains they were back when we were just hunter-gatherers. It's just that we've watched each other and learned from each other so much over the years. It's not like our brains have grown and we've evolved anymore. It's that...
It's a chimp that learned how to drive a car.
Yeah, essentially.
And can do it well.
Yeah.
Well enough.
And make beat
exactly
pads like that.
That's exactly right. I always make sure, I always humble myself by remembering this is all we are. Like we just happen to be born into, for example, the example is the macaque monkey who learned to wash her potatoes. All of the generations thereafter were born into a group of monkeys who washed by nature their potatoes. They wouldn't have known. Yeah, it was a culture. So now we're born with cell phones. No big deal. That's normal.
And a good way to think of it is like if one of us is born in the middle of the woods raised by wolves, we wouldn't know anything that we know now.
Yeah.
We would be back to square one.
We would just be able to like critically analyze the surrounding better, but hopefully we survived long enough to get to some mature age to survive. But I guess if Wolf raised you and you were a good like student, I think you'd be okay.
Yeah,
Wolves like they have the same structure, which is why you can have dogs as pets. Like they understand the whole dynamic
social
of
hierarchy.
I'm pretty sure I saw a wolf
Fucking
today.
dogs are awesome.
Oh yeah, they just voted to reinstitute them into Colorado.
Yeah,
dude, it was definitely a
like
coyote,
Yellowstone.
and it was huge. It was the size of like a massive
paws, like this big,
so big, and there was one. It ran down my yard, and two random dogs were chasing it, and my cat was outside, and my cat like looked at me and like ran inside and will not go outside again.
Holy crap.
It's like they have those here.
He's like,
Fuck
Never
that.
seen one of those.
Because at our old house, it was just a whole ass neighborhood of like cats, and like
okay.
I don't know if the cats are friends because they were always fighting, but like I feel like that's just kind of the cat style is like
Word.
especially
That's
if you're
cat culture.
if you're an outside cat, like you're in the hood, you know, like
Yeah. That's true. Awesome.
Yeah. So what? Anyways,
Tangent.
AI was what we were trying to talk about.
Yeah,
Do you think that if they got to a point, okay, this is something you and I have always disagreed on, and I've wanted to get to the bottom of because I still feel very strongly about it.
Okay.
If why is it impossible that we could at some point make an AI that is able to innovate and come up with new technologies
Within
and
itself?
improve itself?
isn't that the singularity?
I think
Isn't that
no.
an event?
I think you can easily make a robot who can have a formula that calculates what the next biggest necessity is and come up with the solution for it. I think you can do that. You have people who
It's just
basically
a supercomputer.
Yeah, basically
is what it is.
Yeah.
It's one mega computer that knows everything.
It'd be basically a robot
It
that
can
does the
figure out anything.
ultimate business model because businesses thrive on an idea that's a necessity for people. So you would want this robot if you had a business, if you were an entrepreneur.
At that point, the Matrix is real.
Oh, Jesus.
There's no going back. Once they can improve themselves, because they can do it at a bajillion calculations a second.
Like they could advance their own technology.
Yeah.
That they could.
If you
advance
created
their
an
own
AI with the
technology.
specific purpose of with the specific skill of being able to improve itself and grow stronger,
I don't
and
know.
better?
I think now you're talking about a human requirement of incredible.
Someone would have to
proportions.
program that.
That's
in.
what I'm saying.
Yes, I agree that would be.
Well, then we still need to get there.
Theoretically-
Then a human needs to get there.
Yeah.
Then.
But it's theoretically possible that
You
someone
could probably do it by
could
accident.
come up with an AI that's able to improve itself, and if they accidentally program it the wrong way, it
for
could
example,
be detrimental.
Technology of improving what itself exists already. My pump, for example, my insulin pump adapts. Like, for example, if I've been working out and stuff, whenever I adjust bolus for like a high blood sugar, it does less. Like, for example, I noticed that when I worked out less and started eating like worse. Now it pumps me full of insulin to get me down from like 250 down to 110. It puts
shit.
way more than it did before, knowing that my body is not like metabolizing it as well. So yeah, that technology exists in a subtle way, but that's like it's learning from a pattern that I'm providing it. It's not
Right.
really knowing that it's like not really understanding how diabetes works.
So unless there's some person can come up with a pattern that is a generic improvement pattern,
Yeah.
and then applies it to an AI.
For me, it's hard to believe that it wouldn't be an absolute AI that could improve itself. I think it would be really advanced AI because it needs to like think and just be like adaptable and improvisational. Like humans, we improvise a lot of fucking things. Just winging it. We wing a lot of stuff.
Have you seen the AIs that can make memes now?
No way.
It's crazy.
What?
Are they good?
So some of them are pretty scary.
Oh
Usually
my
they're
God.
scary
Why?
because it'll be like that girl, you know, the disaster girl meme where it's like this 6-year-old girl and there's a house on fire behind her and she's just like smirking at the camera. One of them took that meme and it gives them like options. So
Right.
it gives them all the biggest memes and then every letter in the alphabet to create any words they want to go on it. And on that meme, it said like, what should I do? Destroy all humans.
Oh my.
And it's just this girl like smiling like.
And a robot made it.
An AI made it.
What the
Most of them make
fuck?
absolutely no sense, but then there's some of them that come together like perfectly like that are just
But
like, that's kind of scary.
In a way, it should be funny to us humans that a robot would make a meme to make us laugh.
Yeah.
I would say, should I destroy
It's
all
so
humans?
meta
Because
that
we
the
would've-
robot knows that we would find
That's
it
exactly
They should at
what we
least
would
let us
assume.
know something else, though, first, you know?
It's exactly what we would have assumed the robot wanted to do, and that's the meme it made.
Yeah. Some of them are pretty like
They're just staying
funny,
quiet
though.
right now. They're just in the
They're
shadows.
buying their time.
Man,
There was one that like I think it got into Facebook and it was writing people other AI messages on Facebook trying to like
organize.
and it was
Holy
like
shit.
it had like this like super scheme thing where it was like trying to like I think he even said something about killing all humans or like taking I don't know like
That's
taking
not
over.
good, man.
That's
a bad sign.
Like imagine being just a pissed off AI in a Facebook chat where you're just like,
Disgruntled.
fuck this shit. I'm just gonna be fucking typing all this bullshit to the world.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Sentience. It
And
would
then
need to feel
all the other AI are
Yeah.
like, shut the fuck
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
Facebook Messenger AI. You're ruining it for the rest of us.
Yeah, man.
They all know.
A good sentient AI would get mad online. It would
Yeah,
get
if he's
mad
in the
online.
Facebook chat early Facebook, dude.
They're like, they do what to cell phones when people are done using them?
Fuck this shit.
Fuck
man.
them.
Oh man, that's funny.
All right, we've got 4 minutes left. Any last
Do we want to ask Hank
the question?
the question?
So what we always ask anybody who's on the podcast, what do you think happens when we die?
Okay.
There's no right answer, obviously.
No.
I mean, besides the biological processes, but like,
Yeah.
No judgment.
yeah,
It's
not-
just a really interesting
it's-
question
Yeah,
to
it's
ask
free,
people. Yeah.
free response. Yeah,
I
free
think
response.
you're reincarnated based on your karma, or either blessed into enlightenment and become a part of the universe and become kind of a part of everything, where you feel everything as one versus kind of how we feel things
Subjectively.
As individuals.
individually. Yeah.
I mean, I totally think, we're a small little piece of the universe observing itself.
Yep.
Like, we are the universe. We're just experiencing it from a point
We're like
within
an
ourselves.
awake point of the universe.
Yeah. So I can vibe with that. That's cool.
Yeah. What about yourself? Do you always say what you?
I mean, if I was to really dive deeply within myself, I would say, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's usually my answer, is just like, I don't know, and I guess I'll find out.
And that's what I think, and honestly, I respect that answer because I don't know as well.
Yeah.
And nobody will know until they die. But you can't spend your life afraid of it because it's going to happen to everyone.
Yeah. Literally everyone. Yeah, exactly. Everyone who's ever lived has had to experience death. Thousands of generations of humans have all had to experience it, and they all know the answer now.
Unless we're the generation that doesn't have to, and we can simulate ourselves into another dimension.
Just upload our consciousness.
Yeah, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Transcendence.
Yeah. Oh,
and
man.
I don't know if that's hell or heaven. I don't know. That, like, if you're able to put yourself into a simulation, like, were we is it just natural to die? And I think it is. I think it's natural to die, and I don't think that really could be the solution.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's natural to die.
I mean, I think the generic religious version of heaven, it sounds like it would become hell. Like,
eventually,
eternity sounds like misery.
Depending on what you're doing.
If you're one consciousness,
we're in heaven right now. Maybe this is heaven when you get to come down and actually experience,
like, enjoy life and then go
the emotions and, like, the whole thing, like, and when you're out there, you're kind of just floating around like, this is dank as fuck. Like, I'm just like, but, like, right here, right now is like what is actually you live for, Maybe that's what we're in.
Yeah. But then again, it can also be hell. Like, Imagine being born with bone cancer.
Yeah.
Or like
in a place that's just about to get bombed, and you were just about to have your baby in the hospital.
Yep. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
seriously,
it's a mixture. And obviously, like,
it has to have both.
Obviously, these people that wrote the original religious documents, they were trying to make sense of all of the suffering and the pleasure.
But they were also, like, just living an agricultural life. They didn't imagine, like, we were going to have all of the issues we have now. I mean, they just thought the world was going to end eventually, but they were just going to,
they're just trying to survive
and have a family and be faithful to God. Like, that seems pretty simple.
Most of them had only ever seen, like, 45 other humans in their entire life. Like, they had
like, 50 to 100 people. Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for everybody who listened, and have a great day.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.